Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. This will be the final edition of NoDQ&A video until Night of Champions this Sunday, live on the WWE Network, yada yada yada. NoDQ.com has got you covered with all the latest news, rumors, and of course, live results coverage. With that being said, let's get down to your questions here. First one today comes from Corby W. Is Vince McMahon or John Cena's ego too big for putting on Sting versus Rollins on last at Night of Champions? Well, it could be Vince McMahon just not believing in Sting as a main eventer and not having confidence in Sting as a main eventer, since Sting is not a WWE creation. I think the idea in WWE is that they want to end the pay-per-view on a high note. If Sting is not winning the title, then WWE's attitude could be that it's better to have Cena's match on last, so Cena winning is your happy ending and the fans go home happy. And I know some people out there will be thinking, well, John Cena winning to end the pay-per-view is not on a high note, but you have to look at it from WWE's perspective. They want to please the casual fans, and they want to have their top babyface, at least in their eyes, win and end the pay-per-view with the fans happy. So that, I think that could be the case here. It's just a rumor at this point. There's no confirmation that Cena versus Rollins is going on last, but it should be very telling. If Sting and Rollins is not the main event, then I would be shocked if Sting wins the title. I think that would be the indication that Sting is not winning the title and Cena's winning the US title. So we'll see what happens with that. And I got this question here from Daniel Jobber. Word is that Cena will not get another title shot until late 2016. Do you think it would be better to get it out of the way? Well, I think WWE's attitude right now is they want to keep Cena in a high-profile position in WWE, but they do not want him in the WWE World title picture. And there's all the talk and speculation that WWE is still going to try and go all the way with Roman Reigns and try to restart that push to the top with Reigns and establish him as the main eventer in 2016, and then eventually build to a Reigns versus Cena match. And I know people out there are just shaking their heads at the idea of Cena as a babyface against Reigns in 2016, and it's just going to keep on going the same way it's been with Cena against the Rising Star. But I see the US title as a way to keep John Cena in a significant role, and he has something to do, he has something to fight for without him being in the actual main event match, even though it's kind of ridiculous if Cena ends up being in the final match at Night of Champions. I mean, it's clear this is the guy that they see as the main eventer, whether he's going for the US title or the world title. So it is a bit silly, but this is just how WWE operates. Is it better to get it out of the way? I mean, I think it's inevitable. Cena's going to tie Flair's record and probably beat it at some point, and I know people out there are also shaking their heads at that, but whether it happens next month or if it happens next year, I think it will happen at some point, and fans are just going to have to accept it. You know, same way that Nikki Bella beat AJ's record, you know, John Cena beating Ric Flair's record, I think, is inevitable unless Cena gets seriously hurt and his career is over or whatever. With the amount of time Cena has, I mean, doesn't matter. They can get it out of the way. They could put it off. To me, it doesn't matter. All right, this one comes from Devin Sharon. Do you think if Charlotte wins at Night of Champions, it will have the same effect as Goldberg winning the world title at Unforgiven? I wouldn't say it's that bad. With Goldberg and that whole situation where he lost at SummerSlam, the thing about that match is he had so much momentum in that match. When he came out, the fans were going nuts for him like he was the old Goldberg of WCW, and then Triple H beat him at the end, and the fans were just, they were completely silenced. And then the next month in Unforgiven, when Goldberg won the title, the fans didn't really care that much, and it just didn't have the impact. I still think Charlotte winning at Night of Champions would have a big impact. I don't see it nearly as bad as the Goldberg situation back in 2003. As long as she wins, if she keeps failing to win the title, then yes, that could hurt her. And if somebody eventually beats Nikki, whether it's Charlotte or Sasha Banks, it could not have as much impact. You really want to strike the iron when it's hot, and you know, fans are into the Divas Revolution right now with Charlotte and Sasha Banks and all them getting involved. So you really need to do something significant, and that would be Charlotte winning the title. So the sooner they do it, the better, I think. Alright, this one comes from Harsh. Hey Aaron, long-time listener and first-time asker. Why doesn't WWE care for mid-card storylines? Well, the easy answer is that WWE feels that the brand is strong enough that they don't need to focus on the mid-card, I guess. When it comes down to it, you just want to have a brand that's strong enough to where you can get people tuning into the television shows and going to the live events and tuning into the pay-per-views. And traditionally with pay-per-views, it's the main event matches that sell. So really, if you have a main event that people are attracted to, then it doesn't matter what the rest of the card is. So unfortunately, that's just the reality of the situation. There's so much competition for spots in WWE. So many guys want to be on the roster. And WWE's attitude, if somebody's not happy, there's somebody else that can take that spot, and everyone's replaceable, with the exception of John Cena, apparently, because WWE continues to protect him as much as possible. Alright, this one comes from Josh Kubis. Hey Aaron, please answer in video. What is your opinion on WrestleMania 24? I don't hear much about it, and it's my favorite one. I thought it was a good WrestleMania, but not a great WrestleMania. Obviously, the big moment on that show was Ric Flair's retirement match with Shawn Michaels, and even that match wasn't that good, but it was all about the storyline of Ric Flair and his retirement, and that emotional moment after he lost to Shawn Michaels, and the whole thing with Shawn Michaels saying, "I'm sorry, I love you," and then super kicking him. I mean, that whole thing was just done so well. You know, that was really the highlight of WrestleMania for me. And of course, Undertaker and Edge, which I thought was a very good match, but not one of the best Undertaker WrestleMania matches. I always thought that there were better ones. I thought that Orton and Undertaker was a better match, but that's just my personal bias because I was at WrestleMania 21. And the rest of the card I thought was fairly forgettable. I thought that triple threat match with Orton and Cena and Triple H, I thought that was disappointing. And some of the other matches were forgettable. I can't even remember them. So I thought it was a middle-of-the-pack WrestleMania. Not one of the best ones, but not one of the worst ones. Alright, this one comes from Grant Peoples. How do you think the original ECW would fare in wrestling today? Well, the thing about ECW in 1995 and the mid-90s, ECW was unique because they were breaking new ground. They were doing things that had never been done before. Hardcore wrestling on a mainstream level, it was because of ECW that WWE and WCW started to change their products and started to push the envelope more and go in a more adult-oriented direction. And this was something that WWE had not done, something that WCW had not done. ECW had a tremendous influence on the entire wrestling industry. So today, ECW, I mean, there's plenty of hardcore wrestling out there. You have CCW, you have all these different leagues that specialize in hardcore wrestling, but it's not unique anymore. There's nothing groundbreaking about it. So, you know, the original ECW wouldn't really make an impact today because it's all been done already. For a promotion to make the kind of impact that ECW made, they would need to be doing things completely different and just changing the industry and being innovative. And, you know, Lucha Underground's really the closest thing to that in the United States as far as a promotion that's trying different things and trying to have a different presentation and a different outlook on what wrestling can be. Lucha Underground has broken some ground, and because they've been unique, they've stood out. And that's really what you need. For there to be another ECW, you really need to be innovative and change the game. And it's hard to do because so many things have been done. You could say everything has been done, but you know, with the right creative mind out there, who knows what direction wrestling will go in. I mean, eventually when the right person comes along who has some new ideas, we could see a new boom period and we could see some major changes in the business. And I got another question here from Grant. I was wondering, what is your top 3 favorite WCW World Heavyweight title matches? Interesting question, because a lot of WCW title matches were not that good when you had people like Hogan in there. The matches were often very disappointing. A couple that stand out to me, one match was from 1999, Sting versus DDP on Nitro. I thought that was an excellent match, one of the best matches in Nitro history. Unfortunately, it got ruined when Sting lost the title back to DDP in a 4-way that same night. It just took the wind out of the sails of Sting winning and took away the impact of his title win, I thought. But the match itself, as a standalone match for the WCW title, I thought was excellent. Another match I thought was really good towards the end of WCW was Booker T versus Lance Storm on Nitro. Another really strong match, and you know, one of the probably the highlight of WCW in the year 2000. Probably the best high-profile match they had during that period. And thinking about other WCW title matches, probably Hogan beating Flair at the 1994 Bash at the Beach. You know, that was very significant. And a couple other ones, you know, Sting beating Ric Flair in 1990 for the title. Those would be my top most memorable matches. And I'm sure there's other ones I can think of, but those are the ones that stand out the most to me personally. Alright, and I got another one here from Devin. Besides the Attitude Era, what were the best years for the WWE in your opinion? Well, I always liked 1991, the end of 91 into early 92. To me, that was a really strong period in WWE with very compelling storylines. Randy Savage and Jake Roberts was one of my favorite storylines, and when Ric Flair came in and was proclaiming himself to be the real world's champion, and that angle they did with Flair and Piper and McMahon at the announce position where Vince ended up getting nailed with a chair, that was a tremendous storyline. And, you know, the stuff they did with Sid and Hogan, Sid was great, and Shawn Michaels turning on Marty Jannetty, just so many memorable moments in that period. They were really on a roll, but then with the whole steroid scandal and all the other scandals in WWE, and then with Hogan leaving, they kind of fell off a cliff after WrestleMania. But from the period from SummerSlam 91 through WrestleMania, one of my favorite periods in WWE. And I got another question here from Devin. He loves to send in questions here. How long do you think the Ziggler and Rusev feud is going to continue since Lana isn't going to be there? Well, there's been speculation that Lana and Ziggler will eventually get back together. And I figured that was a possibility because it just seemed like Lana wasn't really acting like a true babyface, and I felt like maybe it would be a swerve where she was setting up Dolph Ziggler, but then they didn't really go in that direction. At this point, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's clear Lana's not going to be pushed as the face of the Divas division like WWE was intending her to be at first. And who knows if she'll ever get in the ring and wrestle. I mean, the fact that she got this wrist injury, I think, you know, that's going to slow things down a lot with her getting pushed. Rusev's really going nowhere. So you could reunite them, but I don't think it'll have the impact that it once had. Really doesn't matter one way or another. But yeah, with Lana out of the picture for now, one would think that they'll wrap up this Ziggler and Rusev storyline sooner than later. But who knows? They might fight on Raw for another 6 months and have 10 matches against each other. Who knows? So that'll wrap it up for this edition of No DQ&A video. Once again, NoDQ.com is your source for everything related to Night of Champions. Go to twitter.com/NoDQ.DOTCOM to follow me for live tweets on Sunday. And check out the predictions video I did with Jeff Meacham. Also check out Tech Talk Wrestling coming up with Jeff Meacham. He'll have more of his thoughts on Night of Champions related topics. And on that note, I will see you guys next time for more No DQ&A video.